movie where we're on the ocean, and wind is blowing. Boy, is it blowing! And I am playing solitaire on. And I said to Stephen, how do the cards stay on the wind is blowing so, look, the whole deck. And he said, we'll just, tape them down and glue them down, and that's what he did. He was bound and determined for me to play solitaire, even though we were in a gale force wind. So no one has ever mentioned it. And Verna Field said, no one will ever mention the ocean because there was no continuity. We were in 6-foot swells, we were in calm, we were in 3-foot swells, we were in tempestuous, and nobody ever mentions that there's no continuity to it.
Did Spielberg encourage you to ever ad-lib or add, or was he a very strict, stick to the script?
No, there was no script to stick to.
That's all the rewrites and everything that was going on.
Stephen is an extraordinarily open writer, director. He's one of the few directors left alive who actually gets in there with actors and mixes it up and gives ideas. For instance, the crushing of the cup.
Yeah.
That was Stephen's idea. We were doing the scene, and he says to me, when Robert does that, and it's like iconic, right? And then we did the scene where we sang. And what it was about, although you couldn't tell this on the paper, it was the moment when we all bonded together into one unit. We had been apart and arguing and yelling and screaming. And when we sang, we put all that aside. So that when the shark attacks, it's attacking us. And we're fighting as a team. We didn't know it then, but it was a beautiful moment to shoot. And I made up the thing about the scars,
Mary Ellen Moffat.
She broke
my
my
You don't have to take this abuse much longer.
That's right. Little W.C. Fields moment.
Yeah.
That right there.
Yeah. We had fun. We had no idea. They put me in a cage, and Stephen said, just say, keep watch, help me. And I spit into my mask, and I had no spit. And I said, I got no spit. And it was just mortal terror. And then at that moment, when I was in this cage, quite by accident, the cage door dropped, the winch dropped, the cage dropped into the water, and I was trapped underneath the water. It may be by that much, but I was in a locked cage. And when the cage went, it tore my mask off and my oxygen, and I was gonna die. And every single guy on that crew was a licensed diver. And they were on me and protected me and had me up in probably 2 seconds. It felt like about a year. And all that was not supposed to happen, but it worked. You know the story of the stuntman who played me?
Yes.
It's a jockey, right?
No, they put out the word in Australia for someone with shark experience. And this guy showed up. He was a short little guy, perfect for me. And he had lied. He didn't have shark experience. So they put him in a cage. They put him under the water. A real great white. You see it in the shot. You see that great white come out of the murk. And he collapsed. And now,
Next.
none of the next cuts were real, but it showed just what he started to do, which was to eat his way through the metal. And the guy, the story goes that the guy is still not recovered 40 years later from that moment. If they had asked me to do it, I would have said no first. No, thank you.
Questions from the audience?
Mr. Dreyfus.
Yeah. You're under arrest. Get your hands away from the car.
Sir. What are your greatest quotes from the movie? And if you may, can you repeat it? What you would think. You just
My
read it
greatest
and
quote?
then repeat it if you could. Favorite line.
I don't have a favorite. You tell me.
Are there any good restaurants on the island?
What?
Are there any good restaurants on the island?
Yeah. Right. No, that wasn't one of my favorites.
That's it, goodbye. I'm not going to waste my time arguing with a guy who's lining up to be a hot lunch.
Hot lunch. Well, I wrote that whole scene, so I take credit. I know one was they're all gonna die.
Yeah.
Stephen had no idea I was going to say that. You know, the camera was on me talking to those guys, and I'm saying, do you know where where I could get something?
Walk
And
straight
they went,
ahead.
and I turned around and I said, they're all going to die. Stephen loved it. And I'll tell you that Robert, at the beginning of the sequence with us getting on the boat, he comes up to me, and he had the line, You're gonna get into that cage. Cage goes in the water. Sharks in the water. And Robert went, farewell. That was Robert's.
Hey, Joe, Dr. Mike has a question.
Dr. Mike.
Yeah, earlier you were saying there was one thing that was not scientifically correct. I was just wondering, as a member of the dive team here, what that was.
Okay. There were guys from Woods Hole on the set all the time, and other institutes. And we were always checking with them because we wanted to tell the truth. Every plot line about the shark eating the stern of the boat and etc. was all true and had been verified. But there was one thing we did, and we shot it on, I think, the first day, which was we shot the crowd of the town with the tiger shark hanging, and I walk up and I take a tape and go, okay? After we shoot that scene, one of the guys from Woods Hole says, no marine biologist would ever do that. And I said, why? He said, because the bite power of a dead shark is 3,500 pounds per square inch. And it could rip itself right off that steel and take your hand off. So I went to Steve and I said, let's reshoot. But by that time, 2,000 people had left the scene and we couldn't. So that's the only thing in the movie that's fake.